वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. Wish you a very happy Tapovan Jayanti and Gita Jayanti. Today a very auspicious day. Tapovan Maharaj was born today and also the Gita was revealed today to Arjuna. So in Vivek Chudamani, we are seeing the questions which are being answered by the teacher. Kosa Anatma, Paramakka Atma. So what is Anatma and what is that Supreme Atma? So what is Anatma is being described, in which we saw so far what is the gross body, how it is made up of 5 elements and the various parts that constitute it. It's a bundle of skin, flesh, bones, blood, all that. Then we saw about the subtle body, the mind, the pranas, the mind, the intellect, and different aspects about that. The last verse that we saw was 107. And a very important aspect was pointed out in that is the nature of the self is supreme love. We don't know that, and hence we are seeking that in the world outside. The logic, one of the logic that was used to establish this was that we love something because it gives happiness. The moment it stops giving us happiness, our love for it stops. And what is that which we love the most? We love the self, ourself the most. So the nature of the self has to be happiness. Experientially also, we experience in the state of deep sleep. We are away from all objects, but yet our mind is very happy. So gross body pointed out, subtle body pointed out. Now the third one is called as the causal body. What is the cause of gross body and subtle body? So these are 3 bodies: gross body, subtle body, causal body. Many students don't understand this properly. So they say gross body, subtle body, casual body. It is not casual body. It is causal body because it is the cause. The cause of the body and the mind, that cause is called as the causal body. So what is this causal body? In Vivek Chudamani, directly, Vivek Chudamani doesn't speak about causal body with relation to the individual, but it brings this concept of Maya. And through that Maya, once we understand the manifestation of Maya in the individual is called avidya, that is the causal body. So first we will see about the Maya. Now we know that this whole world is constantly changing every single moment. The nature of the world is change. As we know, change alone is the changeless law. So everything changes in this world. And if we inquire into the source of this world, we find that the source of this world has to be infinite, because the world also is infinite. That's why we say Purnamadaha Purnamidam. This is Purnam, meaning this world, and the cause of this world also is Purnam, which is infinite. So the world is infinite. There is infinite varieties of beings. There is no limit in space. It is beginningless. So no limitation of time, and it continues. Even after dissolution, again it starts. So time-wise infinite, space-wise infinite, object-wise infinite. So the creation is infinite. And this infinite creation cannot have a finite cause. So the cause of the creation also is infinite. Now, by definition, infinite means that which is beyond space-time object, so beyond change. So the question always comes that how can the changeless, absolute, infinite truth manifest this changing world? How is it even possible? Logically, changeless cannot give rise to anything. So from the highest standpoint, even from logical standpoint, creation is actually an impossibility. The changeless cannot produce anything because any production is a change. But yet we are seeing the world in front of us. So how did it come? Can the infinite produce this world? No, it cannot produce the world. Can the infinite modify it to become this world? No, like milk transforms to become the curd. Can this infinite modify and become this world? Again, not possible because modification is not possible in the infinite. As well as in modification, what happens? The milk is gone, curd remains. It is not that the world remains, the Lord is gone. So production is not possible, modification is not possible. Then how is this creation happening? So which is where it comes, the understanding of Vedanta is, without undergoing any production or modification, the changeless absolute appears as the world. That is called Vivartavad. So without undergoing any modification, the rope actually is appearing as the snake. The rope has not produced the snake. The rope has not modified to become the snake. Then I am still seeing the snake. How is that possible? The rope alone is appearing to me as the snake. Yes, in the example, the factors are the light is less, I'm not able to see clearly, so I mistake the rope to be the snake. In the same way, what is that power because of which the infinite is appearing as the finite? The changeless is appearing as the changing. It has not become the changing. It has not modified or produced the changing world. But remaining unmodified, changeless, it is appearing as the changing. Just like the waker and the dreamer. Sleeping on the bed, the waker remains changeless. But yet the waker is projecting the whole dream world and all dream characters and everything happening in the dream. That is called Vivarta, appearance. So that power of the Lord, which makes this appearance happen, is called as Maya. Literally the word Maya means Ya Ma Sa Maya, that which is not Ya Ma, but which appears to be. That is called as Maya. When we inquire into it, we find it is not there, but it still appears, like the mirage appears. It appears very real. But when we go close, when we inquire, there is no water. So in the same way, that which is not, but which appears to be because of some delusion, that is called as Maya. So now in this 108th verse, 108 to 110 is the section about Maya. So what is this Maya? Let us see. 108. Avyaktanamni paramesha shaktihi anadya vidya trigunatmika para karyanumeya sudhiyaiva maya Yaya Jagat Sarvamidam Prasuyate. So it is Avyakta Namni. One of the names of Maya is also unmanifest. Avyakta. What is this Maya? Paramesha Shakti. It is the supreme power of the Lord. So just like every power has a locus, like right now I am speaking, so the power of speech resides in me. You are listening, the power of listening resides in you. Somebody sings, the power of singing is there in them. Every power has some center, has some locus. A power does not exist independent. Somewhere it is centered, it is based. So where is this Maya coming from? Maya is the supreme power of the Lord. Now many people ask, they generally say that, we don't believe in God, we believe in nature. But nature is and they say that nature is power, nature is that which is responsible for this whole creation. But what is the locus of that power? From where did it originate? Who wields this power? When we think about it, that sentient cause of the universe is the supreme. And the power of that is nature, is Maya. Then the world manifests. Then the supreme, using this power of Maya, creates the whole world. So this is not an independent power, doesn't exist on its own. As well as we have to know that it is a power which is of the Lord, of the supreme. So in Vedanta we have this understanding that by itself Brahman, the supreme reality, being changeless, doesn't create anything, doesn't modify. But yet when we see the creation, how did it come about? So the clarity and understanding here is that Brahman is infinite, and infinite has all capabilities. Infinite is not incapable at all. Infinite is that which has no limitations. So that supreme Brahman using the power of Maya becomes Ishvara. So this equation is important to know. Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara. Ishvara means the creator. Creator is the position with reference to the creation. It's a role. The role of the supreme with relation to the creation is as the creator. So just like we all play different roles. In relationship to my spouse, I am the husband or wife. In relationship to my son, I am the father. In the relationship in a friend, I am his friend. So in relationship to the creation, the Lord is the creator. But by itself, there is no creator, no creation, no creature in that supreme reality. How did the Lord become the creator? Assumes the role of creator using the power of Maya. The power of Maya is that which helps the Lord to create, sustain, and dissolve the universe. So Brahman plus Maya becomes Ishvara. So this power of Maya is not independent, nor Brahman by itself creates the world. When both these come together, Brahman and Maya, then the creation happens. Like we say, the electricity and the bulb. Electricity is Brahman, bulb is the equipment. So both these, when they come together, then the light will manifest. Independently, none of them will be able to give rise to creation by itself, by themselves. And so we find here that it is said Paramesha Shakti. It is the Lord's power. In the 7th chapter in the Gita, Bhagavan says, Daivi Yesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. This Maya is my divine power, Daivi. And it's very difficult to cross. Why? We will see that. First, let us see the nature of this Maya. So, Avyakta Namni, one of the names is Avyakta. Paramesha Shakti, it is the power of the Supreme Lord, does not exist independent. Anadi, it is beginningless. Why it is beginningless? The very cause of the creation is this Maya. If creation is beginningless, the cause also is beginningless. Why do we say creation is beginningless? Because time itself is a part of this creation. As long as the creation is there, we experience time. But when the creation merges back, we don't experience any time. So time itself is a part of this creation. Like take the example of the dream. The dream time is a part of the dream world. When the dream world disappears, dream time also disappears. But the waker remains. If you ask at what time did the waker start dreaming, that we will not be able to tell from the dream standpoint. Because there was no time at that time. So our mind always thinks in terms of beginning and end, because the mind and the intellect always operate in cause and effect, in duality. And Maya is beyond cause and effect. How? Maya is the cause of 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. These 5 elements combine to form the subtle body, the mind and the intellect. And when the intellect is functioning, then we experience time. So Maya is the cause. 5 elements are the effect. The effect of 5 elements is mind and intellect. And the effect of mind and intellect is time. So this time operates only when intellect is active. In the state of deep sleep, when the intellect is not active, there is no time. So while in the waking state, how can the effect of the effect of the effect, try to understand when did the cause begin? The question only is wrong. Because the cause exists independent of the effect of the effect of the effect. But the effect does not exist independent of this. And hence it is that to ask that when did Maya begin is a wrong question. If Maya has no beginning, then God also has no beginning. God is beginningless in any case. Infinite reality, no time. So beginningless, endless. So Maya is Anadi, but it is not Ananta, it is not endless. Because when we get knowledge, then we wake up. The dream ends, person wakes up. In the same way, Maya is beginningless. The practical implication of this is what? Is to stop chasing this cause. That what is the cause of this? What is the cause of this? The ultimate cause is causeless. The ultimate cause is beyond time. So through meditation, one has to rise beyond time, rise beyond causation hunting. So it is the beginningless power of the Lord. It has no origins. That before it was not there, and then it started at this point in time. No, that's our linear way of thinking. Especially in our Hindu culture, we understand time itself is not linear. Past, present, and future is a linear concept of time. Vedantic concept, as we have known earlier, is a cyclical concept. So creation, sustenance, dissolution, again creation, sustenance, dissolution. This cycle goes on and on and on. When did this begin? No, one cannot say when was the first creation. This creation that we are in is not the first creation. If you see our puja sankalpa that is taken, it will tell us also how many kalpas have happened. We are in the Kali Yuga right now. Before this, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Sat Yuga, and that is one kalpa. Many such kalpas have happened. And all these kalpas, when they complete, then a certain number of kalpas become one manvantara. All this is in time, the various calculations which are done. But the beginning, there is no time, timeless. So we say in the Sankalpa it starts Om Shubhe Shobhane Muhurte Adya Brahmana Dvitiya Parade Shweta Varaha Kalpe Vaivasvata Manvantare Kali Yuge Prathame Pade Jambu Dvipe. So it will track the time and the space where I am sitting in from here in the whole universe. What is my connection? It will track the whole thing. The ancient system, GPS system is that. From universe to the continent, from continent to the country, from country to the state, to the city, to the place I am, and the time also. Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha, which is the month, which is the year, what is the Tithi, everything it will track to tell us that many cycles of creation have happened. And I am that which is actually beyond the creation. So timelessness, Maya, from where did Maya begin? No beginning. Maya is beginningless. It is the supreme power of the Lord, beginningless, because anything that has a beginning will have an end and it is perishable. He completely perish. Here it is beginningless, Maya, and it gives rise to the whole creation. Avyakta Namni, Paramesha Shakti, Anadi, Avidya. What is the nature of this Maya? Is ignorance. Maya is the cause of the universe when it is being projected by the Lord. And when it manifests in us as the individuals, it is called avidya. So that word avidya is the indicator of the causal body, ignorance. I don't know who am I. That ignorance is the cause of me feeling that I am this limited individual. If you remember one ignorance chart we have done, ignorance cycle, that because I am ignorant and I don't know who am I, there is a false identification with the body that I am this body, mind and intellect. That false identification with the body, mind, intellect makes me feel incomplete. And when I feel incomplete, then according to my vasana, I desire something to become complete. Desires give rise to thoughts, thoughts give rise to action, action give rise to results. And the results being temporary, they further strengthen my vasana. So this cycle goes on. What is the cause of this cycle of birth and death? Because to experience all these desires is not possible in one body, so many bodies we take. So this cycle of birth and death, the cause of this is what? Ignorance. I don't know who am I. And that ignorance is the cause of all the other things. Hence it is called causal body. Just like ignorance is the cause in us, in the individual, to identify with one body, Maya is the cause to identify with the whole creation, and identifying with that creation, the Supreme becomes the creator. Only difference is, in our case, we are controlled by this ignorance. In case of the Lord controls the Maya. It is Paramesha Shakti. Maya doesn't control the Lord. So Bhagavan is not ignorant. Bhagavan is full knowledge, pure consciousness. But using the power of Maya assumes the role of creator. In our case, we are not using the power. We are being used by this power of ignorance, and we are the victims of our own ignorance. Hence, avidya. So that Maya manifesting in each individual as ignorance of the self is called avidya. Avyakta Namni Paramesha Shakti. Anadi avidya. So in causal body, to understand what is causal body, ignorance of the self plus vasanas is equal to causal body. Two equations we saw today, very important equations in Vedanta. Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara. So the concept of creator, God, is the concept of Ishvara. And that same Ishvara is indescribable in terms of as Brahman, as pure consciousness, which is beyond time, space, and causation. This is equation number 1. Equation 2 is ignorance of the self plus vasanas is equal to causal body. So ignorance of the self is same in all of us. Moola Vidya it is called. But what is it that makes us different from each other? Our subtle body is made up of 5 elements. Our gross body is made up of 5 elements. But why is there a difference in all of us? The difference is because of the difference in the vasanas. The vasanas are the unmanifest tendencies which manifest as a desire. So these are impressions left on the mind, and repeated impression, repeated samskar becomes a vasana. So first time I drink a coffee, I don't have a coffee vasana. I'm just trying out. Somebody said Starbucks coffee is very good. So I'm going and trying. So first time I drink, if I like it, a samskar is put on the mind. It is a favorable samskar. So I equate coffee is equal to happiness or relaxation or anything. Next time I want to relax or enjoy, that impression will come up saying, why don't you go have a coffee? 5 times I go, that samskar impression has become a vasana, a deep rooted channel in which the mind will then flow, the thoughts will flow there. So this vasana is what makes us different from each other. Because vasana is different, desires are different, then thoughts are different, actions are different, results are different. So each one of us is a product of our own vasanas. So ignorance of the self plus vasana is equal to causal body. And all this put together, ignorance in each and every jiva put together is called a total causal body, which is this Maya. So avyakta namni paramesha shakti anadi avidya. What is the nature of this Maya? Trigunatmika para. The Maya is made up of 3 gunas: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. These 3 gunas are the very nature of Maya. Like we say, the nature of sun is heat and light. Meaning, without heat and light, sun cannot exist. There is no cold sun. In the same way, without 3 gunas, Maya doesn't exist. The nature of Maya is 3 gunas. What are the 3 gunas? Sattva is purity, knowledge, brilliance. Rajoguna is dynamism, activity, ambition, achievement, attachment, greed, anger. All this is Rajoguna, restlessness. Tamoguna is ignorance and laziness, procrastination, carelessness, indulgence. All this is Tamoguna. So Trigunatmika para. But how do we know Maya has 3 gunas? It may just be somebody's imagination. They're just saying, okay, 3 gunas. Says, no. Karyanumeya. From the effect, we can understand the cause. When we see a pot and we see that it is made up of mud, it's a mud pot. From the effect, we infer that the cause of this pot is mud. So in the same way, when we look at the creation is the effect, Maya is the cause. In the whole creation, when we examine, there are the 3 principles which are functioning. First is the principle of inertia. We see that everything, there are a lot of things around us are static. There is inertia. In individual life also we see inertia. We don't want to get up early in the morning. One feels lazy. or sometimes one just feels like sitting and watching some television. One doesn't want to do anything actively. So there is an inertia at the body level, there's inertia in the mind and intellect level. In the world also, there are so many things which are just lying there. They're just existing, inert. Even sentient things, sentient beings, just lying there. So that is the principle of inertia, where we see that there is no dynamism. Second is the principle of dynamism. There is movement, there is activity, there is so much of achievement, there is growth, progress. It also brings attachment, stress, worry, all that. But there is dynamism, there is lots of movement. This whole creation is a very dynamic creation. Though it has the tamasic aspects also, but it is a very, very dynamic creation. The rivers, they flow, the birds, they fly, the animals, they move around. There's tremendous power. The air blows everywhere. So there's a lot of power, there is dynamism, individually as well as in the world. And then Sattva Guna is the principle of knowledge. So we see every subject, there is so much deep knowledge. Even one lifetime is not enough to study one subject in its full depth. So much of knowledge is there all around us. Why so many things happen is still a mystery, and we go on discovering. So these three principles, principle of inertia, principle of dynamism, principle of knowledge. When we analyze the whole world can be classified into these three principles only. Hence, from the effect we infer that the cause also must be having these three. Because by itself, it is not possible to know what are the three gunas unless they manifest. That's why it says Karyanumeya. Ma means to measure. Miyate. Ma means to measure. Anumeya means to measure and understand. Only if by seeing the effect, as though measuring the effect, can we understand, oh, the cause also must be having these three. Karyanumeya. Now, who will know this? Sudhiyaiva gamya. Sudhiyaiva maya. Sudhi means sharp intellect, pure intellect. Dhi means buddhi. Sudhi means a good, sharp, pure intellect. Meaning the wise people. The wise people will understand Maya in this way. A lot of people understand Maya in a very general way, where one says that, okay, what is Maya? So one thinks money is Maya, sense enjoyment is Maya, this world is Maya. Some people say to marry is Maya. So that's a very general understanding of Maya. How will the student of Vedanta, wise person, understand Maya? As the power of the Lord, having the nature of three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, a beginningless power, and the power which is the cause of this world as ignorance. Till I don't know who am I, the identification with the BMI and the world will remain. The moment I wake up to know the truth, the whole thing disappears. So ignorance is the cause, is the causal body. So in this way, the wise people will understand Maya. Yaya jagat sarvamidam prasuyate, by which this whole world is created. Is the Maya Shakti which is responsible for the creation of this whole world. That's why in our culture we always worship the Lord with the Prakriti, with the power of the Lord. So we have Shiva Parvati, Lakshmi Narayan, Radhe Krishna, Sita Ram, meaning Bhagwan and the power of Bhagwan together. Brahman plus Maya becomes Ishvara. And beautifully, each of them are wedded to those appropriate powers. Brahmaji requires knowledge, so consort of Brahmaji is Saraswati. To create, knowledge is required. So the consort is Saraswati Devi. To sustain, we require resources and wealth. So Lakshmi ji is married to Vishnu Bhagavan. Sustenance. He is the Lord of sustaining. And to destroy, Lord Shiva is the power of destruction. Parvati ji is married to Lord Shiva. The destructive power, which is a constructive destruction, not a destructive destruction. A destruction which helps in bringing forth new creation. Like the seed gets destroyed, sapling is born. Sapling gets destroyed, plant is born. Plant gets destroyed, tree is born. That way. So three powers of the Lord, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Three aspects, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Ishvara is categorized into these three. They are actually only one. But when the different roles are being played, so we say in respect to creation, Ishvara is called Brahmaji. In respect to sustenance, is called Vishnu. With respect to the dissolution, is called Shiva. It is one power, taking up roles. And each of these are wedded to the Shakti. Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, or Parvati, Lakshmi, Saraswati. So this way, the creation manifests. Yaya Jagat Sarvamidam Prasuyate. This whole world is born out of this power of Maya. So this is the cause of the universe and the cause of the individuals in the universe, individual beings, the jivas, and everything else in the universe also. Before I proceed ahead, if any questions are there on this, we can take now. Because this is a little subtle topic, so one has to understand clearly before we go ahead.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Yes.
Maya is the, in a sense, the potential energy of Brahman. Is that correct?
Not potential only, it's the energy of Brahman, it's the power of Brahman, because it becomes manifest. Now it becomes kinetic also. The creation comes out.
And okay. And the avidya that you talk about, is that another name for Maya, or because then I don't understand that Sushupti Avastha, there is avidya, therefore we do not realize Brahman. So is there a difference between that avidya and this avidya?
No. Avidya is not a name of Maya. Avidya is the manifestation of Maya in the individual. So Maya, just like Maya has three powers, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, Maya operates in two ways. One is veiling, avarana, other is vikshepa, projecting. So the methodology of Maya is veil the truth on one hand and make the truth appear as something else on the other hand, which is what we said is the Vivartavada. So the truth is veiled, being changeless, the truth is veiled, and the same changeless truth is projected as the changing world. This is in the creation. As far as the individual is concerned, in the individual, the self is veiled. That's why in Sushupti Avastha we don't experience the self. The self is veiled, and then the self is projected in the dream and the waking state as this individual jiva, Mr. So and so. So the infinite is appearing as the finite. The changeless is appearing as the changing. The immortal is appearing as the mortal. That's what Maya is doing. And hence, in the individual, the manifestation of Maya is called avidya. Maya is not equal to avidya in the sense that it's not a synonym of avidya, but it is to make the person understand that the individual ignorance because of which the person doesn't know the self, that is called avidya. And that's the manifestation of Maya in the individual.
So in a sense, it would be correct to say that avidya is a product of Maya.
Not a product. Avidya is manifestation of Maya in us. It's not produced by Maya. The creation is a product of Maya. So like we say, the wave is not a product of the ocean. The wave is a part of the ocean. Hundreds and thousands of waves are part of the ocean. All of them put together is the ocean. In the same way, ignorance is a manifestation, is a part of Maya. In each individual, it is manifesting. It's not a product of Maya in that sense.
Oh, thank you.
Haji, Vaijayanti ji, please speak. You have raised your hand, please speak. Unmute your audio and please speak.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Haji.
I just have heard that the veiling of avidya is incomplete. So it does not completely cover the truth or the reality. So can you please explain this?
Where is it written that avidya is incomplete?
So in between, if it would have been completely covering the truth, then we would never have known about the truth. Is it like that?
No, see, avidya, so covering of the truth is always, it's a veiling that happens. It is not partially covered or incompletely covered. When the rope is not seen, the rope is not seen full time, right? It is not that a part of the rope is veiled and I am seeing part rope and part snake. When I am seeing the snake, I am only seeing the snake. Fully the rope is veiled. In the same way, avidya veils the self completely. That's why I don't understand why nature has the consciousness.
Okay.
But it does not mean that the veiling is complete, so we will never know the self. No, it's like the sun. No, the sun is veiled by the clouds, so we are not able to see the sun. But when the clouds remove, the clouds go away, then the sun reveals. In the same way, the veiling goes away with knowledge. So when a person does, if you remember the second verse of Vivek Chudamani, it said lot of punya is required to come in contact with Vedanta, to get a human birth, to have a temperament for spiritual life, all that. So when the jiva has done good karmas, the mind is ready, pure enough, then satsang comes in the life and the veiling slowly starts lifting away. So it's not a permanent covering. But as long as the covering is there, the covering is complete. Through knowledge, the covering starts going away.
Okay.
The vasana layers which are there, so there's two levels of covering, right? One level is ignorance, second level is vasanas. In the deep sleep state, the vasanas are unmanifest, fully unmanifest. Only avidya is there. In the waking and dream state, the vasana starts manifesting. So the more the thicker vasana, more extroverted is the mind. So through satsang sadhana, this vasana layer becomes lesser and lesser and lesser. And through contemplation, the avidya goes away. When avidya goes away, it goes away completely, one time. It doesn't go little by little by little. What goes little by little is only vasana. Through steady contemplation, dehatma bhava and dehatma vasana goes. When that person realizes the self, instantly the entire veil of avidya goes. So till that doesn't happen, the person is not experiencing the self as the self, but misunderstanding oneself to be the jiva. So that's how the veiling is. So it's not an incomplete veiling, the veiling is complete only. So Maya has these three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. The power of tamas is the power of veiling. The power of rajas is the power of projecting. So the truth is veiled on one hand and projected as something else on the other hand. Gurudev used to call it as non-apprehension and misapprehension. Non-apprehension of the truth leads to misapprehension. Even in our daily life that happens. Suppose you ask somebody, where is this place? Suppose the person doesn't know, one should actually say, I don't know. But many times one says, I think it may be here. You go straight, then take a left, and then go straight, take a right. Person is not aware, but then is projecting, maybe here, this. Non-apprehension leads to misapprehension. When I don't see the rope, I see the snake. When I don't see the sand, I see the mirage. So non-apprehension doesn't remain on its own. It always leads to misapprehension. So tamas leads non-apprehension. I don't know who am I. And then rajas is misunderstanding or misapprehension that I am the individual jiva. As long as I am in tamas and rajas, mind will constantly be ignorant and extroverted. With all the insecurity, fear, sorrow, all those will happen. Only when I come to Sattva Guna, so Rajas and Tamas power of Maya, they bind us. But Sattva Guna is the power which helps to liberate us. It is the right apprehension. So non-apprehension, misapprehension, right apprehension. So using the power of Sattva, when one gets the knowledge that my nature is pure consciousness, I am not this jiva at all, person wakes up. Hence in the science of Vedanta, one always says that try to live in Sattva Guna maximum. The more the mind is in Sattva Guna, the more sharp the intellect is, the more easy it will be to gain knowledge as well as abide in knowledge. Many times we gain knowledge, but we don't abide in the knowledge. Our life doesn't transform. Because we only have got information, Rajoguna, Tamoguna is still very strong. Like I may know that every day I should exercise, that is good for my health. Knowledge is there. But Rajoguna and Tamoguna don't allow me to get up in the morning and do exercise, tamas. Or I get up in the morning and I start doing all my other work, that is Rajas. So one has to overcome those, increase Sattva Guna. So while there are two gunas which bind us, there is one guna which helps to liberate us. And through Sattva Guna, one goes beyond the Sattva Guna also and experiences Brahman through contemplation. So this way, the topic of Maya is not just a theoretical topic. We can study it as an academic, for the academic knowledge. But it has a lot of practical implications in sadhana also. And those practical implications are these, that how we must learn to live more and more in Sattva Guna. Many times our anger, agitation, etc. is only our projection. More and more we brood on it, more and more we project. So try to bring the mind to Sattva Guna, the projections will become lesser. Second is all these gunas which are there in this creation. When we understand the play of three gunas, we understand that the variety in this creation is because of the three gunas, because of the various vasanas. So, what is the connection of the guna and vasana? Vasanas have texture. Sattvic vasana, rajasic vasana, tamasic vasana. So, each individual is a product of these three vasanas, three gunas, and their vasanas. So, when we understand somebody operating out of certain guna, then we can also learn to protect ourselves or relate harmoniously. Somebody is in Rajoguna, great anger. We also don't have to come in Rajoguna. We can act out of Sattva-guna. Someone is in Tamoguna. To activate that person, we need to introduce Rajoguna in that person. So the understanding of the play of three gunas makes us use them very well and not get used by them. Third, it is the power of Bhagavan. So if I want to overcome this Maya, I have to surrender to that Lord. Drop my individuality. Drop this ego, either through knowledge or through devotion or through action, either of the three or all the three. Fourth aspect is causation hunting. I have to stop. Using logic, I can come up to the boundaries of intellect. But everything cannot be proved only through logic. A lot of things are beyond logic. So through meditation, one can learn to cross the realm of logic and enter into the realm of intuition and direct experience. So Maya has like that many practical implications in sadhana. It's not just a theoretical concept to prove that, okay, how creation came about. And fifth and last point for today is that this whole creation is a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. Maya is the Prakriti and Brahman is the pure consciousness. So we will see the play of both everywhere. But in the play of Maya and Prakriti, we have forgotten that there is a Purusha. So what we have to do is to understand that this power, through all the manifestations, we can see the power manifesting. Like electricity alone manifests through the light in the bulb, heat in the heater, music in the radio. So we understand electricity through all that. In the same way, through Maya, through the three gunas, through the whole creation, what we have to understand is the creator, is the changeless aspect. Sattva guna helps us to understand that. So for today, we will stop here in terms of this topic of Maya. And my suggestion is please read the commentary of Puja Gurudev, especially on this topic and also on the next verse. Verse 108 we have done today. Please read 108, 109 and 110, the commentary of this, so that tomorrow when we take up 109, it will become more clearer. Otherwise the topic is subtle, and if we prepare, it will become more easy to understand. Right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.